Welcome to the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. I'm here for you every Sunday night from 8 until 11. I'm sorry about that. 8 until 10 p.m. Used to be 11. That's when we did this on a radio program, a secular radio station, and they had commercials. When we started doing this without the radio station, it was amazing how much more time we had. We had about 20 minutes in each hour, so the whole thing was 40 minutes longer than it used to be, and I got hoarse the first time I did it. We're glad you're here. It's coming up on Christmas. This is December 15th, 2019. We're here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Bible Forum is a ministry of Alternatives, Biblical Counseling and Education Incorporated. It is maintained by the free will offering of God's people who care and want to help, and I am grateful for every one of you that do. If you'd like to be a part of that, just go to our website, thebibleforum.net, and click the donate button. It'll tell you how to do that. I'll send you to a PayPal account, and if you don't want to do that, email me at the Bible Forum, and I'll give you an address that you can send a check. This is the Christmas holidays, and some of you have already started to do that, and I am deeply, deeply appreciative of all that you do in this regard. If you'd like to get our email, we send out an email every week, and if you'd like to have that, shoot me an email. That'll give me your address, and we'll put you in the link, and then you'll get that. I've been thinking lately that I'm going to stop sending those emails. I'm not sure how effective they are, whether people really like having them, whether it really matters. But, talk to me. We've had a lot of things going on this week, a lot of stuff, a lot of important stuff. And I wanted to share with you some of those issues that are related to our biblical Christian theological orientation that we have here on the Bible Forum. I found an article this week that was actually a YouTube. Somebody may have sent it to me. I'm not sure now which came first. But I've entitled this, "Democrats Have Abandoned God." And the YouTube address is available. I'll put that somewhere, probably on the video when it gets posted tomorrow. But during the recent hearings, and we've all been overwhelmed with the hearings up in Washington, the Democrat-led House Judiciary Committee, witnesses were sworn in. But if you notice, they were not sworn in on a Bible. They were sworn in simply by the upraised hand, pledging their commitment to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, as best they can. A Republican member asked, "What happened to 'So help me God'?" And the chairman of the committee, a Democrat, said, "Not everybody believes in God, and that not all who believe in God want to bring God into the picture." That tell you something about this guy? He knows nothing about God. He knows nothing about God's people. God's people want to bring God into every picture. So in the Democrat-controlled House of Representatives, in the nation whose motto is "In God We Trust," bringing God into the mix is, well, offensive. Offensive to some, perhaps offensive to many. Clearly offensive to the Democrats who are in charge of the committee. And we certainly can't insult people this way. Out in Portland, Oregon, there has been recently a new request or a new program process to build some buildings to house people, and they came up with guidelines. The Planning and Sustainability Commission introduced guidelines that could, if they are completely adopted, they won't run into any problems getting it on the books, require new buildings to make room for homeless campers. You build a building in the city, you got to have a space so the campers can put up their tents. And you've got to have that on your private property, whether you like it or not, whether you want to or not. Under this particular proposal, November 12th, last month, the building design process would require owners to, quote, provide opportunities, end of quote, to the homeless population to do what? To rest and to be welcome. This implies forcing owners of new commercial, residential real estate to build spaces for homeless men and women so they can camp out in your side yard, your backyard, somewhere on your property, even if it's an apartment building, whether you like it or not. The idea was originally supported by members of the commission, but shockingly to them, apparently, they received strong pushback. And so they tabled the whole thing until some further discussion can be had from the minority bloc on the commission, who could still sink the proposal before it reaches the city council for approval. One proponent expressed it this way, saying, quote, the heart of the issue is increasing housing costs, demonstrating that Portland cannot support all the people who live here now and are going to live here in the future. Set up a program where people without a home can come to Portland and have a free space. You're going to have people coming to Portland. A commission meeting is scheduled for December 17th. That's Tuesday of this week. We'll see how this works out. The gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ seems to be attracting more and more attention as time moves forward, more than ever, apparently. Around the world, the persecutions are on the increase, or we are hearing about them more. I'm not sure which is which, given now that we have the internet, we have satellite TV, we have a lot more communication in the world. But in either case, the importance of the information is that the gospel is being preached in every corner of the world. Now this in itself is a prophetic fulfillment. A case in point would be India. The current prime minister, a fellow by the name of, well, I guess they call him, his name is Modi, or they call him Modi, I don't know which. Anyway, he seems to have made it his purpose to reinforce Hinduism, in part because of the rise of Christianity. India is now ranked number 10 on Open Doors' most dangerous countries for Christians. As the Open Doors report states, quote, Hindu nationalists in India continue to attack Christians with what seems like no consequences. As a result of this hostile climate, pastors are being killed. Church buildings are being burned down. Congregants are being dragged out of services and beaten in the streets. And for the most part, the police are simply looking the other way. That's if they aren't participating themselves. The New York Times reported on December 6, quote, extrajudicial killings are common in India. The term for a police killing here is encounter. And in recent years, the Indian police have killed countless people in such encounters. Many of the killings are later revealed to have been staged or pre-planned. I think we talked about the doctor in the United Kingdom who had his license revoked because he was praying for his patients in their presence. He prayed with a client about his or her health situation. But now this doctor in the UK has been cleared of any and all wrongdoing. This after a 3-month investigation into an allegation that his praying made patients Well, uncomfortable. The General Medical Council in Great Britain, which oversees and licenses doctors, cleared Richard Scott and said there was no evidence that Scott had done anything wrong. They have socialized medicine in Great Britain. If the government doesn't allow you to practice, you don't practice. The National Secular Society has then now lodged a complaint on behalf of what they call the highly vulnerable patients who felt uncomfortable at the use of prayer. Scott, who sometimes prays with patients, could have lost his license, could have lost his job. The General Medical Council said in a letter that there was no first-hand account of complaint from any patient about Dr. Scott's practice. The government sent an anonymous hearsay account about how Dr. Scott expressed his religious beliefs to a highly vulnerable patient, that according to the General Medical Council. But there was no convincing evidence. He was not pushing his religious beliefs on anybody, vulnerable or otherwise. Further, the General Medical Council said there was no evidence that Dr. Scott discusses faith in situations where the patient has stated they do not wish to discuss these matters, or that he has continued to discuss faith after a patient has indicated that it's not welcome as a discussion. Apparently this was all hokey-dory with the patients. They talked to them about it. They weren't having a problem with it, but other people got involved. That's the way it works. Nosy people. No, this is a concerted effort to get God out of the system. You know, we're hearing a lot of stories about immigrants now. We have a president who wants to shut the border down, shut the door and get it under control, and that somehow makes him a racist. But we're not hearing a whole lot about the folks who are already here, have been coming for decades, illegals of one sort or another. But this month, the state of New York will become the 13th state in the United States to give illegal immigrants driver's licenses. They've started last month on, I guess not last month, what's today? Yesterday, the 14th, giving out these licenses. Some of these people may not even be able to read the road signs, let alone the laws, all of which are in English. Officials in counties throughout the Empire State warn that they are not equipped to handle the predicted onslaught. To help, one state lawmaker is offering free care for the children of illegal aliens who attend a workshop designed to help them navigate the process of obtaining a license. More than 500,000 undocumented immigrants. And you got to understand, when they talk about undocumented immigrants, they're talking about people they don't know anything about. They guess 500,000. Could be more. These people are not able to produce a document that indicates anything about them being here legally. But anyway, they're expected to qualify. And all they need is an expired passport, or a consulate identification, or a license from their country of citizenship. Do you see that? A passport that has long ago expired, meaning they must go back, but they just dissolved into the fabric of the society. Consular ID cards issued to citizens living in foreign countries, cards that do not verify anything other than that they are citizens of that country. We know nothing about the history of these people, where they came from, what they're like, what happened in their country, or what they did here. Local Department of Motor Vehicles clerks throughout New York are deeply concerned about this situation. They said that these people are unfamiliar with the documents. The people at the DMV can't read their documents, and the people coming can't read our documents. According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, 12 other states are already doing this. You can guess what they are: California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii. Illinois, Maryland, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, Vermont, and Washington, liberal states. More than half of these states passed their measures 7 years ago, 2013. In 2019, several states, including Florida, Kansas, Minnesota, and North Carolina, introduced legislation to do the same sort of thing. It's not clear whether they've passed or not. Maybe it's all still working through the folds. This week, the Department of Justice challenged New York's soon-to-be-implemented measure, writing in a federal court filing that it conflicts with federal law. National security is at stake, putting federal officials in a difficult and very confusing position. Over the summer, a federal appellate court ruled that the Trump administration could withhold federal funding to local governments that offer illegal immigrants sanctuary. Stay tuned. About 4 months ago, inventor-entrepreneur Elon Musk revealed a new and provocative device that has the capacity to change the way we think and what we do. He's created what is being called a brain-machine interface. With this device implanted in your brain, you would be able to compete with artificial intelligence technologies. It's a brain-machine interface, which he calls Neuralink. This is an implantable device that can theoretically read your mind. At an event at the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco, Musk touted the startup's achievements since he founded it in 2017 with the goal of staving off what he considers to be an existential threat. An existential threat, he says, is artificial intelligence, AI, surpassing human intelligence and thereby relegating human beings to that proverbial backseat. In 2019, Neuralink says it has designed very small threads, smaller than a human hair, that can be injected into the brain to detect the activity of neurons. It also says it has developed a robot to insert these threads into your brain under the direction of a neurosurgeon. Scientists believe this will be important on a civilization-wide scale. A device, think about it, inserted into your brain with 1,000 times more electrodes interfacing with the brain than the leading FDA-approved device now being used for Parkinson's patients. Trials are expected to begin next year on patients with serious, heretofore unmet medical diseases. For example, patients with complete paralysis due to an upper spinal cord problem or accident involving 4 of Neuralink's implants in the patient's brain. In past trials, they've been able to fit a monkey with the ability to control a computer with his brain. It's a process whereby small holes are drilled into the skull, which they say is as simple and low risk as LASIK surgery. The stated goal is to cure diseases and ultimately secure humanity's future. Meaning, Homo Sapiens will not simply die off. Do you see how godless all this is? Does it matter? We have a society primed, ready to accept all of these innovations, to bring all this better technology to bear on our bodies. When we get sick enough, when we hurt enough, we have proven willing to do almost anything. And here we're going to be able to compete with computers. Can you think of a whole raft of people who are going to like doing that? It's going to help them immensely. The mind boggles. Can you say 666? We'll talk about some of that later on in the show. I've got another article that kind of weaves in amongst this, so we'll come back to it. But for now, we're done with this section. We're going to move on to what the Pope doesn't like in the next segment. I'll give you 3 guesses. We'll see how you do.